Hello again, everyone. I wanted to pop in and create an additional short cast since the last podcast. I kind of had to scoot out the door pretty fast because I was starting to have a bit of a sneeze fit and a cough. So I had to kind of end that before I got a chance to go over some of the Reiki Q&A questions that I had. So with that said, I created a secondary one that you're hearing now. So what we're going to do is take a few rounds, and this could be something ongoing for spirit chat, Reiki chat, energy chat. When I get questions in, I'm kind of logging them so that I can collect them and go over them during one of these little shortcasts and give you guys a little Q&A. So one of the questions, well, let's just get it started here. What is Reiki, right? So we've heard about it. We've seen it in magazines. What is Reiki? Well, I tell you, it is nothing like what I thought it was. Reiki is an energetic practice, a spiritual modality that opens up and channels divine energy and helps with the process of balancing your energy systems. That's a long and short of it there. It's a form of bioenergetic therapy. We all have a magnetic field around us if we want to get sciencey about it. And so depending on where you are in your Reiki journey, so to speak, and how much you work with it, your hands, and sometimes, we use pendulums as well, become fine-tuned instruments that can pick up on subtle energy disruptions. Whereas, if I'm doing a bioscan, as I like to call them, they have fancier names, and depending on the energetic modality, they call them all different things, but we'll just call it a bioscan, where I'm going over your aura and your energy centers with my hands. Now, my palm chakras have been woken up, and that's a whole nother episode, how we can work with that. But they are woken and open, if you will, and scanning the system. And I personally look for disruptions, things that don't feel like the rest of the air around your body. It could be an intense heat in an area, or it could be an icy cold in an area. My guides and senses kind of give me more subtle things like prickly and tingly, and I can tap in if an area is too busy. It's usually around the head when they're having a little trouble with the meditation they're in, and they're having a lot of thoughts. And there's a method I use to kind of smooth out that energy and hopefully kind of relax them a little bit more in this area. But yeah, we scan the areas, and really this is a real simplified version, and we rebalance them. That is that's in a nutshell. Let's see. What's another question we have here? Because going into everything about Reiki, just not enough time for that. But that kind of gives you an idea. Let's see, another question I had written down here. Okay, a lot of people ask, and this person's asking, how am I going to feel after the Reiki session? Well, that depends. It depends on what we've hit in the session. Sometimes you feel absolutely energized and ready to roll, especially if you are a client or student that comes weekly or every other week. So you're kind of in balance. You know what it feels like. You're making the changes at home. You can feel very excited, ready to run out and, start your day. Other people, if we're working on a bit more tough subjects, in energy disruptions, could be from traumas, something actively going on in your life, and we're working on rebalancing here and some techniques for here. You could leave the session hopeful, but also maybe a little tired, needing some extra water because you're working through a lot of energy there. So it really depends on the session. But say it's just an average session and we're not really getting into some deep trauma release or past life stuff or anything like that. You'll feel super relaxed, at least in my sessions. I utilize sound therapy along with the Reiki techniques, and the intuitive stuff we talked about earlier, but integrate some deep sound therapy to relax your body and mind on a level, so you really notice the difference of what it is to be fully relaxed as opposed to how you are in your normal state going about work and driving around and things like that. Sometimes we're so much in that work, go zone that we forget what it feels like to actually relax and to recharge our energy. And time after time, students will come in, and it's usually the movers and shakers, if you will. Those that are getting stuff done, they're running a business, they're keeping this handled, but they have made time to come in for their self-care and are having a Reiki session. So time after time, I see them, and they are really kind of, they come out of it and open their eyes, and they're kind of like, okay. And I'm like, hey, just take a minute, relax into that. Because their energy has shifted to such a relaxed state. They're not used to it. Sometimes they need a little snack or to take a drink real quick, to kind of ground a little bit. And they're always very excited about feeling so relaxed. And of course, instead of taking the compliment of the services, I say, well, that points to how imbalanced you were when you walked in. I'm a little sassy too, and funny. The more relaxed you feel after the session really clues into how out of balance your normal working life is like. And I say working loosely, it could be any kind of working, but living, working life. And we do, as humans in a go society, we get used to it. We can tolerate, we can take this, we can, just a little bit more of this. We push, and we forget what this other state is. And this other state is a really, really healing state, and in Eastern medicine, it's said that they work on preventative measures for your health, whereas Western, we work on the afterwards, the symptoms and things like that. And something that actually, now that I'm talking about it, would be a great little short cast about sound therapy in different states, alpha states, beta states, and things like that. And going into those states, different states, the levels of healing that happen after a certain period of time, what gets triggered in the chemicals in your body to start the healing is really fascinating. I absolutely love sound therapy and working with it in conjunction with the Reiki energy. It's absolutely a combo method it's become kind of my own little signature process, to really get them in a deep, relaxed state, which also does a couple other things. Yes, it gets them in a state to where their body can start pumping different chemicals and relax. It also sometimes allows them to open up if they have worked on their abilities at all, and or if they're just naturally open, but they haven't been at the right frequency, so to speak, to channel in messages or to potentially see angels. And when we see angels in session, it is colors and mists. I actually haven't ever had a student that saw an angel with the full out wings and face and all that stuff. It's a mist that they come in, and we connect and talk about them, and it almost always deals with something going on in their life, and we show that connection. But they may not have ever seen that before or experienced that. So it allows them to get into a state, and this extra energy flowing through, it really amps up the room to make a kind of a mini vortex for both healing and channeling information, both myself and the client. So those are some things that you can feel after a Reiki session. Generally, I get feedback that they're very thirsty, and I do say for the next 24 hours, drink a lot of water. You've moved a lot of energy. Sometimes they're a little sleepy. And I always say, honor what your body's feeling afterwards, because it's done a lot of shifting, and maybe you do need a bit more rest. And maybe you find that you need to kind of redesign your life to allow for more rest. Hey, I'm one of those people. I'm always challenged with that, and running two businesses and passion projects like podcasts. And I will tell you, absolutely, definitely from experience, that the universe will give you a smackdown if you do not listen to the rest that they are trying to tell you about. It is every bit as important as the do, if you will. So let's see, what else do I have noted down here? Is Reiki for everyone? Okay, that's a question. I personally say yes, it's my perspective. I think that anyone can receive a level of healing and relaxation from Reiki. Now, depending on where they are spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, will directly, influence how much they receive, what type of healing, as a general term, they receive, and things like that. So it gets a little more difficult. There are those, here's a story. I had a student once that basically got a gift certificate for somewhere they were seeing, this fella. And he had come in, and this was a lesson for me in growth, and he looked nothing like what I would expect someone coming in for a Reiki session would look like. Tattooed up all over the place, long kind of Viking looking beard. And I was like, well, okay, this is going to be interesting. And it turns out that he was at the time experiencing a very high level of anxiety that had built up in his life and started to then prevent him from doing what it is that he loved, which was tattoo. He was a tattooing artist, and it had started to creep in, and anxiety will do that. It's a sneaky bugger. It starts as a little stress, little this, little that, and if left unchecked, it can be very disruptive, and in fact, really make you forget who you really are. I mean, it gets you out of whack. I know a few people, and have known a few people, gone through some very big time anxiety. I have it from time to time, even though I do meditation, and I'm going to be a fully transparent practitioner, and not all will tell you about their vulnerabilities as well. But I think it's part of the learning and the authenticity of sharing this stuff. I run into it too. It's part of our shadow work and our lessons. If you get a practitioner out there, it doesn't matter if they're a tarot card reader, oracle, any sort of light working, healing. If they're telling you they never run into this stuff, I'd be selective in working with them, because they're full of it. Because a practitioner never goes through everything in this life lesson in the earth school. We master certain things, we work through certain things, but guess what? Then the universe brings us next level stuff to work on. And so we work on it. Do we, complain about it and throw negative energy out there all over the web? Well, I don't. And those I respect don't, like in the practitioner aspect, because that does show a whole nother level of shadow work you need to work on. If you have to put all your business out there and complain about all the negative all the time, there's a whole lot going on there that needs to be addressed, more than the thing that you're complaining about. I'll tell you that much. That's something we'd work on in a soul coaching mentorship sort of thing. But either way, lost my train of thought on there, went on and on. Transparency, let's go back to that. I'm very transparent in the things that I go through. And do I talk about myself the entire session? No. But if something hits that you're going through, and I know I have gone through it too, I can empathize with you. And I'm primarily clairsentient. I work with all the clairs, but that was my natural one that was the most easiest for me. And so there's the whole talk about, well, I'm an empath. People say that everyone has a capability to be an empath. Not everyone's primarily clairsentient. Clairsentient's like the big brother or sister to empath. We sense all things. But everyone has the ability to utilize their empathic abilities if they choose to, if the ego mind allows them to, if their vulnerabilities allow them to open up and reach and feel and touch energies and emotions and things like that. But with that said, if in a session I have gone through something that they're going through, I can show that empathy and understanding and have some insight that makes sense to them and allows them to feel heard and seen in that way, which is goes a tremendous way in healing. Even if I don't put the Reiki on and that, just being able to connect with someone like that and transparent and not act like, oh, I'm way up here and you're way down here. And I tell them all the time, hey, I'm just a little bit ahead of you, just about a decade ahead, of you. But I've done it and I'm still doing stuff. So, hey, I've made all the mistakes there is, trust me. So don't worry about it. It's that sort of thing. So yeah, is Reiki for everyone? My personal opinion is yes, on some level. Oh, I have another mini story to go along with that. I love stories, so many stories. There was a student who purchased a Reiki session for their elderly father. Another surprise. I did not know that's who was coming. And he get in and he is, we're talking close to 80 and, war vet, very likely Christian or some more formal religion sort of thing. So this was an experience and definitely not someone who goes to readers or healers or anything, but she saw him suffering. His wife had passed months prior, and he'd really been suffering with her loss and missing her so much. And in hindsight, had I known all this, I just don't know. They talk about, mentors and things talk about not necessarily having sessions when someone is in such a state that the pain is just palpable. However, this accidental experience kind of made me really think, because what it did for him, I almost started crying. So let me give you a little insight here. All right, wife passed months prior. He's missing her so badly. So the daughter wants to have a session to see if he could maybe relax, have a meditation. She was able to see a past loved one during her Reiki session and being under in the meditation. And I think she wanted so badly him to experience something like that. And I let her know, I don't promise that sort of thing. It's whatever the angels want to bring in, yada, yada. So we get into the session and I'm doing some Reiki and stuff. And he kind of just laughs. He's like, well, I've never done anything like this before, young lady. And I was like, well, we'll just give it a whirl, sir. So he's under with the meditation. And then all of a sudden I see little tiny tears rolling down his eyes. And he's whimpering something and he kind of reaches out and he says a name in it, which I find out later was his wife. And fast forward to the end of the session, because I'm going through this going, oh my gosh, is this a beautiful thing? It is, because you don't know, this isn't all written in books, guys. You use your judgment and hopefully you have good discernment and judgment and a good moral code when you're working with things like this. Because, hey, by the way, it's not all about the money. It's about the healing. It's about the experiences that you receive as well as the clients. This is life school, man. So anyways, I'm wondering, should I stop the session? Is this okay? All these things are going through my head and the guides are saying, just keep going. It's all right. And I'm like, okay, guys, I don't, this is a first for me. I don't really know. Just going to keep going and send in the energy. And at one point I wasn't clearing any chakras or any energy centers. I was just sending the energy through. And that is something I do kind of, in different times it's called for that, just to kind of pump a lot of like a fire hose of energy through. To facilitate whatever they're experiencing, long story short. So he was done then with that. And let's see if I could. Sorry about that. Someone's calling on the computer. Okay, so with that said, where was I? Sorry for that. Fast forward to the end of the session with him. He took the headphones off and he looked at me with these eyes and he grabbed my hand in two hands and held it and said, "Thank you so much." And he's just tearing. And I honestly cannot remember the woman's name right now, but he said, "I saw so-and-so. I got to see her again and say goodbye." And here I am getting a little teary-eyed here too. It was a moment. That's all I'm going to say. It was a moment. And while I was so hesitant as I saw him walking up going, oh boy, because he had a walker and I'm like, what's going to happen here today? Afterwards, there was just, they gave me that as a lesson and they gave him such an experience that he wanted so badly. And he's not the type that would be all UFOs and woo-woo. I mean, he was a very grounded military guy, older fella. And it was so evident that she visited him and gave him a good discussion, to talk to. And it was a beautiful thing. The daughter was crying, everybody. It was a wonderful thing. So yeah, Reiki's for anybody. I'm going to go with a solid yeah. All right, I'll answer a couple more here because I got the stories. Let's see. This is sort of a question. This is actually, I'm going to expand upon this and just put this out there. How do you choose a practitioner to work with you for Reiki? I would say that you need to have a connection with them. Either you can tap into their energy, something about their voice is calming. There's something that feels good and that you would feel safe having a session with them. Not that there's any danger, but Reiki, if done at the level that I, like to provide, which is mixed modalities. There's 5 different modalities, including the counseling sort of, the coaching bit. But I feel like you really need to have a space where you feel safe, supported, comforted, allows you to feel vulnerable in a way that you can open up on the level you need to heal. Reiki is not a space where you only tell them a little bit, at least in my sessions. If you come in and you only give me a tiny piece of information, I'll work off that information. But will you get the most transformative healing session if you withhold and guard and kind of block me off? No, you're going to get some healing. But how much more could you have gotten if you really just opened up to what needs fixing, so to speak? What needs your attention? What needs little you? We talk about like big Jamie and little Jamie. So we'll have, the young version, about 7-8-year-old version, and then a yourself version, so the courage to say, I'm ready and this person feels safe and I can open up and truly start to heal on levels, so you want to feel like that. Sometimes people come to me just off of a recommendation from someone else they trust, and that's good too. So that's something you look for. Don't let your first judge be the pricing. Yes, that's important. Times are tough, but let it be either the feedback that you see off their website from other people to give you an idea of who they are. If you can listen to some videos, if they have talking parts, you can kind of get an idea of their energy. Just make sure that's a match first and then approach the money business, right? Don't let money be your sole thing. Well, this one's cheaper, so I'm going to go there. I like this one better, but this one's way cheaper. All right, we're talking about your health, guys. Even, I'm sure other practitioners do this as well. I have PayPal paying for the PayPal credit. I mean, there's ways to make this work. And you can also message me. And there are some things we can do there if truly you're seeking the healing. so that's something to really look at. Make sure, and with the soul coaching, that's the ongoing. We do the sound and Reiki and sound healing, but we also dig into the spiritual life coaching and, working on traumas, working on personal blockages, working on self-worth, which you'll be surprised how much that comes up, even if you are all fancy. I've seen that too. And we have to work on some of the self-worth stuff and choices and choosing you and things like that. So building a good rapport, that's important too. All right, let me get one more here from email. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. This person was asking about anxiety, and if it would help with anxiety. We kind of touched on it earlier, with that individual. Oh, and I didn't finish the story with the tattoo guy. I don't think I did. He went through the session, and when he came out, was smiling. He's like, wow, I've not felt so relaxed in 3 years. And the cool part about that is about 3 years later, I have tattoos, right? So I have one going down my neck. And I went to my tattoo place and my regular person wasn't there, but they suggested this other person, which I didn't recognize the name. So I go in there and I'm looking at him and I'm like, he looks really familiar. He's talking. Oh, he's really familiar. So I sit down, he starts working on my tattoos and stuff. And he's asking, I noticed he had crystals on and I had crystals on. So we got to talk about that. And then he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm a Reiki master. I have a couple businesses and also a digital marketing agency. I own one. But, I'm a Reiki master and healer and do divination. He goes, well, I went to a Reiki session once in a little house. Like he described it as a little house. It's an office, but in so-and-so area. And I'm like, tell me more. And I was like, he told me a little bit more of what the setup was. I'm like, that was me. That's why I recognize you. He goes, oh my God, and obviously he continued with his tattooing because he was doing the tattoo design on me. And it was such an interesting full circle moment. And he just opened up after that. He was a chatty Cathy the rest of the time. And we're talking about this and how it felt afterwards. He was no longer with that person that purchased it for him as a gift. However, the effects continued on and allowed him to get through that. And he was still tattooing. So that's the end of that happy little story. So yeah. Can it help with the anxiety? Yes. If you are ready to work on your anxiety, 90% of the clients that come in, they are ready to work on their anxiety and make some changes and not look strictly towards, pharmaceuticals and, playing the blame game or the victim thing. And I know I may get some heat and some hate for this, and I mean it with love and healing, because I myself have had family members and people close to me that have done that route. So I speak from experience and literally knowing folks that choose one path over the other. So with that said, if you're ready to work on it, absolutely progress will be made. The level depends on the level you're at and how deep you're in it, so to speak, and how many changes need to be made around you and how ready you are to make those. And not that you must dive in and tackle the whole world at one. You may only be at a point where you could do a couple things a week or a couple things a month to change for the better. Environmentally, setting boundaries, doing things like that. And you're like, setting boundaries, what's that have to do with anxiety? Oh, a lot. But that's a longer story than we have time for. But also doing the homework that you're given to start to reprogram the chemicals in your body, the way you respond to them, things like that. So it's a process. It's not done in one session. I will tell you that right now. No, but you can make real progress. And I absolutely love, I have some clients, I think my longest client now is 6 years, comes about just about every week, unless she's out of the country or something like that, for 6 years. And we work on stuff every week, and it's different stuff. It's not the same stuff. Oh, she's tackled that. She's gone further, but she found the value and saw, wow, I am tackling things that were a real stickler before. I was having quite a problem talking. I'm tackling those. I want to tackle more. I want to keep this going. And so coming to the soul sessions with the healings, we're able to take, what's going on right now, possibly give a reframe for it, some homework to do, reset the energy, go out, come back next week, let's see how you did. So yeah, it's a therapy of sorts. We're not allowed to say that sort of thing, unless we're licensed as a mental health therapist of some sort. So, we say working on it, practice, homework, things like that. You receive healing no matter what. There are some clients that also go to a psychologist or psychiatrist and also come in for the soul coaching sessions because they work together. It's not one or the other. They work together. And when you are an ongoing client with me, weekly or every other week or something, I'm invested in your progress as well. I'm checking on you. We're having communication. If you have any bumps, I might send you a meditation. It's an ongoing thing. So if you've ever thought about doing anything like that, or even just want to talk to me about if something like that is right for you, soul coaching sessions, Reiki and sound healing, the ongoing mentorships, intuitive development classes. I have a number of those, everything from pendulums, oracle cards, angel work, the whole thing, clairvoyance classes, working on your clairsentience, all of that's on the website. So if you've ever been interested or some of this sounds interesting to you, let's have a chat. It's free to have a chat, and maybe it's something that you want to give a try. And because hey, it's the beginning of the new year, right? So we have some things we want to accomplish. Everybody does at the beginning of the year. And looking back at 2022, maybe there's some areas you fell short or you'd like to improve on. Maybe everything went really well for you, and now you just want to kick it up to the next level. Have a chat. If you're ready to start learning Reiki in a way that is thorough, I really want you to experience this. It's not just about read this book and here you're attuned. I want you to really embody it and feel it and sense this new energy, because the light on your faces when you do, especially in persons, they're like, whoa, what was that? I've never felt that before. And it's so cool. To me, that's just the best. I love it when people wake up to their abilities and their gifts. And again, I'll say thing I always say, everybody's born with gifts, but whether you make them an ability or not, it depends directly upon, whether you practice, you work with someone, you learn, you experience, you master them, then they become something you can use, not just something that just happens and whoop, that just happened like a dream. Whoops, that was cool. That happened. You have no control over it, just happened. We want to turn them into abilities, something useful in the practical world. And if you take Reiki, it does not mean you have to go out and start a Reiki shop or, a Reiki school. You can take it into wherever you're at. One of my best examples are those that have taken Reiki 1 that are vet techs that work with animals, rescues, volunteers. And during Reiki level 1, you work on your own energy and understanding that and getting connected, as well as animals. You're not supposed to work on others yet. That's level 2, where you work on outside people at the practitioner level, but you work on level 1 with animals as well. And so I've had a few that came in and then receiving feedback later that they were bitten less and the animals seemed more at ease and preferred them over other techs and things like that, because animals and babies can really sense your energy more than, grown-ups, obviously, we kind of tune things out unless we start relearning, reawakening, tearing all those walls down to be able to, but animals, babies, they can sense right away what's going on there. And you may have had experience seeing that and not knowing what it is, when an animal just would not go near somebody, or one came over and sat by someone. And normally they go sit in the corner because, they have fear issues and stuff. So either way. So yeah, taking Reiki 1 and working it into, whether you're a bartender, I mean, you're working energy into the liquids. Liquids hold energy, things like that. You can send a blessing in there. You can just kind of emit a calming energy, because let's be honest, a lot of times at bars, there's people that have some issues and they're talking to the bartender about it. So, I mean, think outside the box with this stuff. You can provide them some comfort that they needed, just by your energy. You also, another story going along with that is protection. You need some shielding, you need some instruction on that sort of thing, psychic protection, and energy protection. But yeah, Reiki 1's for everybody. And I prefer, and I really believe that if everyone could take 1 or maybe even level 2, and bring it out to where they're at, in the offices, running businesses, anywhere, it just spread that out, guys, so that there is a overall vibrational raise. And you can make things easier where you're at. You don't have to give up everything and go live in an ashram or something like that. Bring it to where you're at. Yeah, because I've seen that be kind of a question that had come up. So this is accidentally becoming a question. They're like, well, I don't know, because maybe they're in for a Reiki session and the guides are telling me they're a healer, and I bring that up to them. And they're like, well, I have a good job, work at a bank or something like that. I don't think I'm ready to just quit it all and go be a healer. And I'm like, well, hold on now. You don't have to quit everything and do that. You can simply use it to clear and manage your own energy if you'd like, or your friends or something like that, family members. One of my best friends is a psychologist. And I remember at one point she was working at a place that was very emotionally intense, and kind of rough, so to speak, on the emotions. And, she has to be professional in guidance, but at home, it's just a lot to detox from. So at least for a while there, I'm not sure if she still does it, but she would go directly in to when she got home, before she did anything else, she went into a sort of quick Reiki self-healing session. Kind of did a meditation with the music, 15-20 minutes, reset, detox from all that, and was ready to go for the rest of the evening. But that's a great way that shows how you just use it for your own energy management. So I'll go on back, or reel it on back now, Jamie. If you've ever been interested in that, and I do also do remote in Zoom classes. So if you're not located in Florida, more specifically in the Tampa Bay area, then that is not a problem. We can still have a session. We can still go through the levels of Reiki, and Zoom is a magical thing. I'm using it right now to record this. So distance is no big deal. We can do this. So don't let that stop you either. And of course, if you're local, we can set up an in-person class at the studio, or classes. So there's that. All right. I think I have chatted quite a bit now. It's been about 45 minutes on these quick Q&As. So what I would like from you guys is to email me, or fill out a form on the website, or if there's an option in the podcast section below, but somehow contact social media, however you like to. Give me some questions to answer. I'd like to do more of these Q&As on different spiritual realms and things, maybe angels, maybe more specifics on energy work or oracle cards or whatever. But I like these Q&As, so I'd like to have more of your questions come up. And I'm going to start to write some down too as well. because we do a TikTok live, my brother and I, on Thursday nights at 7 Eastern time on TikTok. I'm Switch 7 on there. And we do a 2-hour spirit chat and answer a lot of questions. And it's every single week. And come up here in a couple of weeks. It'll be a year of us doing it every single week. So we have some friends on there. But I'll try to start writing some of those questions down so that I can put it in this format for a wider audience. So thank you so much for joining me again today for this bumper session, since I had a bit of a cough the last time and had to end that. So till next time, be well. See you soon.